Yo, what's good with y'all, man? Welcome back to another video. In this video, I'll be going over how to make multi-genre samples and beats in the style of like Oscar Zulu, make some crazy compositions like that. You can apply these techniques to all different types of production. So this video might be very valuable just in general when making samples. And as you guys can see, we're in a new studio space. It's not completely 100% finished yet. I want to get some like stuff going on in the background, maybe just so it doesn't look boring, but we're in a new studio space. And yeah, we're about to be cooking up, pumping out some more videos. And yeah, without further ado, let's hop right into the breakdown. All right, so we're starting this one off at 89 BPM. First thing we're adding in is a Gentleman piano from Contact. And I went into Sicklery by Vagus Rose and I dragged this MIDI in right here and it sounds like this. And the chord progression is actually really simple. All this is a B minor 7th, and then it goes into the C major 7th. And for the bass notes, we're just stacking up the bass notes with the roots here, and then adding in some notes on top. And a lot of the time to create like a darker type of feel, you can stack these half steps right here. And then we're just adding some passing notes here and there and some extra notes on top here and there as well, just to give it some different bounces. And for the effects, we got this Volve compressor on these settings right here. And it's just this basic EQ, boosting out some of the high end and cutting out some of the lows, and cutting out a little bit of these low mids here as well. And then for the real sauce is this cassette, and you can copy down these settings right here. And the next thing I added in was this little top line melody. It sounds like this. And I played this one completely in on my MIDI, so it just sounds a little bit more organic. The way I recommend doing this is just to like play around in like a scale that you know, and just keep playing and playing, and then you can splice all those recordings in together. The processing is slightly different. We got this Volve compressor and then this cassette again. No EQ on this one this time. And for the mixing, it's really just kind of panning them left and right just to kind of fill out their own space, and then making it a little bit mono so it's not too hard panned. And I render them out right here just to save some CPU. The next thing for the intro is just this atmosphere from my Roots multi-kit. This is what it sounds like. It's pretty much just noise and some like bird kind of tones. And this is really good for just setting a vibe. And I think these are crucial for making these type of samples. And I definitely said this before in past breakdowns, adding in like these atmospheres is just absolutely game changer, just to create a whole different vibe and fill some space as well. It kind of makes everything cohesive, makes the melody like kind of cohesive. And then the last thing for this intro is just like this texture. This is also coming from Sicklery. And all I'm doing is adding a little bit of vintage verb. That's pretty much it for like the intro. And it kind of goes into this like bigger type of section here. I always like to start off kind of like smaller sounding, if that makes sense, and then drop it into like a much bigger kind of like switch up section. And for the switch up section, we're pretty much adding the same exact elements over, and then we're adding a whole bunch of different new stuff. First thing I added was this bass, and it's just coming from my Roots multi-kit again. It's the carbon bass, and it sounds like this. Next thing we added in this deeper bass from my Roots multi-kit again. It sounds like this. And it's just cutting out some of the high frequencies here. I love adding in two different bass sounds just to kind of create a different vibe and just make it a little bit more ear catching. And then I wanted to fill out a lot more space and make it sound a little bit more wider and big. And I thought the best way to do this is create like a choir type of sound. And I recorded all these in myself. And it's really simple to do this. And my voice, like horrible, like I can't sing at all and I can barely keep a pitch, but there's ways to work around this. So pretty much what I do is I mute every note in the scale, or in the chord actually, and I sing every note. So like, for example, I'll start on this B, and I'll just keep going up and go to the D, go to the F sharp, and I'll do this for every note and every chord. I record everything out, and the way I process these is I go into New Tone, which is a stock FL like pitch shifter type of plugin, and I go there and I change all the notes. So like if I'm a little off or something, I'll change all the notes to that actual note that I want it to be, and then I re-record that out and I put it in here so everything is on key. And as you can see here, for all these notes, they have different channels, and some of them are panned to the left, to the right. Some are made more mono, some are made more stereo. Some of them have little altar buoys on it for like those really low notes that I can't hit. And ultimately everything is sent to this vocal channel here, every single note. We just have an auto tune on the B minor setting here, so everything, just to make sure everything is in the right key. A vintage verb as well, a chorus just to sound a little more wider, an EQ, and then another EQ just kind of taming some of these frequencies. And yeah, it doesn't sound great, but with everything, with all the context of the samples and everything else, it sounds pretty good. Like I said, doesn't sound great, but when I play it through, it sounds honestly really good actually. And then just to beef up the choir a little bit more, I went into Decent Sampler and I went to this London Rain Bank, and it's this voice pad just to add some more like high end to the vocals, and it sounds like this. There's actually no effects on that at all. And then the last thing I'm adding is this perk loop from Vegas Rose Cyclery kit. And this section sounds like this. And you guys remember what those vocals sounded like? This is what the vocals sound like with everything like kind of all together. There you go. Sounds a lot better. Sounds a lot better than on its own. And then what I'm doing at the end here is just cutting out all this right here and making it pretty silent. And then onto this next section here, just to kind of switch it up even more. A lot of the same elements. I'm taking out the piano, taking out these textures. I'm adding the choir in along with this Decent Sampler. And then we're adding in like a string section, which I kind of wanted to go from this more organic piano sounding section into this like big like string section with choirs and all that. First, I'm going into Contact and going into Session Strings Pro, and I'm adding in these string layers right here. All I'm adding on is this vintage verb and this chow tape, and it's really just following the chords, and this little like top line like violin type of melody going into Joshua Bell violin is playing something that sounds like this. And I'm running those two things out just to kind of, you know, save some CPU again. And yeah, after all that, we're dropping it into one last section that completely switches up the entire sample. And how I'm achieving this different type of sound is I'm automating this tempo. It's going from 89 BPM all the way to 94. So I'm boosting up by 6 BPM just to kind of give it like a faster feel. And this whole entire time I was making this first section, I had the sound shifter on to pitch it up by 2. And for the second section, I completely turned the sound shifter off right here with automation, and it went back to the original pitch. And then I'm just adding in this Tascam noise from my Roots multi-kit. This is the transition sounds like right here. And yeah, onto this section now, which is completely different. This is where I add a bunch of textures and like synth phrases. First, we're going into Cyclery, and we're grabbing in these 2 synth phrases right here. It's kind of the foundation of the entire sample. Then we're going into my Roots multi-kit, and we're grabbing in these phrases and textures. And then we're adding this perk loop from Cyclery. This last thing I'm adding in is this Tundra bass from my Roots multi-kit, and just playing a B note over and over again and kind of adding this bounce. And all that's on here is just weird EQ, cutting out some lows, cutting out a little bit of low mids and some trebles, high frequencies. So that's pretty much this section here. It's a lot of just textures, no really real MIDI. And I'm just kind of stacking some layers, making sure they're all in the right key. And just to kind of fill out and add this like weird section. And then onto this last little section here, I'm pretty much not adding anything new. I'm just adding in drums. First thing I'm adding is this drum loop from Riot. And it's a Riot drum kit from Vegas Rose. All I'm doing is cutting out all this low frequency so I can take out like the kick drum completely. So I wanted to add my own kick in there. And this is a kick from my Echoes toolkit, which is completely free. This is what the drums sound like. Yeah, super bouncy sounding, and with context with the whole thing, it sounds completely crazy. That's pretty much the breakdown on the entire sample. In terms of the master, we just got this EQ cutting out some highs, or putting in some highs actually. Got this sound shifter to pitch it up by 2. Like I said earlier, I took it off in that second section. And I added this gain plugin just to add some dBs back in there, about 9 dB. And I got this soothe and a soft clipper. And yeah, after all that's what the final sample sounds like. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. I think this one turned out completely crazy, and the sample and beat is just, I don't know, I just think it's really cool. I feel you can apply these techniques to all different types of production, and I think that's what's great about making samples like these. I feel like you can learn a lot, and I think it's really fun just to create some like crazy compositions, and yeah, I think this one turned out crazy. It's really great to be back making videos. I got a lot of really cool stuff planned, so just stay with me. If stuff's a little slow right now, I got a lot of crazy stuff planned and a lot of videos planned. The next few videos are gonna be breakdowns, kind of similar to this, and then after that it's gonna be a lot of different types of stuff, and also keeping the same kind of content going as well. So yeah, I'm really excited for you guys to see that, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you on the next one.